So, Johnathan, we're a couple of days out after the Championship Cup final. A brilliant 2-0 win for Sullane against Mizen Hob B. Needed 2 late goals to clinch the cup and the double. So, the perfect end to dream season?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Obviously, we finished the season strong, so it would be a disappointment, obviously, not to finish it off, given that, the lads had gone again in the cup. But, fair play to Mizen as well. I think a shout out to them as well. I thought they had a great game on Saturday, closed down the space and also made everything very difficult. Had lots of chances themselves as well. And as you said, up to 80 minutes, it could have gone either way. Luckily enough, a win for us. But look, the credit I give to Mizen, I said it to them after the game in the dressing room when I was chatting to them. I think it was the toughest game we had all season. Probably wasn't the greatest game of soccer on both sides, but what it lacked me maybe in entertainment, it definitely made up in I suppose, take you to the very last minute and the anticipation for everyone to see which way it was going to go.
Johnathan, you clinched the Championship League title a good couple of weeks ago now, and then you were waiting for this cup final. Obviously, you got through to the cup final. How did you keep the motivation in the camp going for between winning the league and the cup final?
Yeah, great question. To be fair, Kieran, it was one thing myself and Billy Healy, who's coached the team with me throughout the year, we're probably worried about. As you said, a big gap. So look, I think that's a credit to the players, to be fair. But I think the only thing I said to them is I said, guys, days like this and seasons like this don't come around very often. You've got an opportunity where you've done the league now. That was our goal at the start of the year. Now there's an opportunity there to put a medal in your pocket, put a second one there, and we can go either way. We can obviously down tools and say we've enough done, or we can go and do it. And these players, which we'll obviously touch on later, of course they were only going to go one way. And the minute they got into the quarterfinal against Trina, they wanted to get to the final and win it.
It's an incredible success for the Sullane's men's team. But I'm going to come to you as well, Austin. You're so heavily involved in the club as well. Just talk to me a small bit about Sullane, the locality, the membership, and how things are going at the moment.
Certainly, I suppose. Look, like the club is going since 1991, and I suppose there's been many ups and downs through the years. And I suppose, look, probably just before COVID, maybe the club was, not saying it was all over the place, but look, maybe things weren't going as good as they could have been. And I suppose the locality where, like Sullane, I always say to the kids, the River Sullane itself, it goes through many different parishes: Cooley, Ballavourney, Rennery, Killamatra and Clondrohid. So, we try and cater for children and boys and girls of those areas. I suppose initially, look, when we started Sullane back in 1991, look, it was pretty much that team was a junior club. And myself and Johnathan, I suppose, look, we were playing in the underage teams together, long time ago, back in the early 90s. And I suppose, look, I kind of got back into the Sullane side of things I suppose I was asked just before the pandemic about maybe coming back and helping. And, I really wanted to give back to the community. I suppose I was through a few difficult years myself, and, everything stopped during the pandemic and there was nothing going on. And there was no junior team in Sullane, and, the underage had stopped, and there was a very young group of guys there. So in 2021, there was Martin Twomey, myself, Tim Reardon, Neely O'Brien, and a few more of the guys. We just sat down and we said, look, the whole club itself needs to be, looked at, structure the club, like, where are we going forward? What's our goals? And I think when you start, writing down, all your different problems, I suppose, and look what kind of solutions we can come up to and how do we get there? That's a start with anything, I suppose. And, I remember even like looking on Facebook when I was living in Dublin, I was seeing, Jesus, we had red jerseys and we had black jerseys and we had, there was yellow and black and green and every bloody thing. I just said to myself, like, who are we as an entity? And one of the first things I said, look, we need to unite the club again and go back to basics. I mean, you see Drina Rangers, you see Skull, Bunratty, you see Clon, their colours instantly. So Sullane, I saw an old 1991 picture of the old team, and they all had the blue and white stripes. And I said, let's just go back to basics. Killamatra J, Neva Bond J, Clondrohid, they're all blue and white anyway. So look, it's easier for us to start with that, and I suppose moving on into 2022, we put up on social media about, look, a girls' soccer team. Like, it's not that girls had never played Kieran with Sullane, and like there was always a few, girls in underage, but we never had a dedicated team. So I think it went up in social media around, September 2021, and I remember the first training myself and Lorraine Burke. We were there February down in the Closh to Gumleton, and there was about 7 or 8 young girls looking at us, and we were saying, right here, what do we do here? So look, let's see how we get on. And have any of you played soccer before? But look, I think we have a good partnership here with Naomh Bán, and a lot of those girls, maybe they were playing Gaelic football with Kilmatra, Naomh Bán, etc. So they were young athletes, and look, they're an exceptional group. Look, last year, like the average age of that team was 10 years of age, and they got to the National Cup quarterfinals. And I even remember back in September, I said to them, like, will I entry in the National Cup? And they were like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. And starting the first game, I think we went up to Fermoy, and very nervous, fine facilities up there, AstroTurf and lights and dressing rooms and things you aspire to get to as a club. And it was a roller coaster. Look, they put in some fantastic performances all the way up until the final game against Barna. So, I was, so proud of those girls. And like seeing in 2021, maybe where we had maybe 80 in the club registered players, to where we are now with the junior team and the underage, the academies all opened again to almost, I suppose Johnathan is nearly 200, I'd say, at this stage. So, there's been great progress, I suppose, on the field, and off the field. We've done a lot of work with Cooley, where the junior team now play, and most of the underage. We have 2 portable cabins purchased, and we've turned them into dressing rooms. We fenced off the pitch now to try and keep the sheep out for once and for all. We got a lot of funding, I suppose, from local, wind farms, and we're very grateful to our sponsors and those who've helped us. And I think building from there, then it's a case of, look, dugouts were put up, because as you know, look here, I know, have you been up in Cooley, but on a wet January day, it can be quite an experience when you're sitting as a young kid, or Johnathan there with the boys. So look, it's about, overall for our goal is, look, put structure in the club again, set out a goal, how we want to play. And I think what Johnathan and the junior team have done this year, set a template for all the young boys and girls to aspire to. And look, we're so proud of them all. And look, things are certainly looking bright in Sullane at the moment.
And just on that, Johnathan, the fact that what he achieved this year, like I said, that championship, league and cup double, that gives the young players in the club something to aspire to, because they've seen the success that you've created for yourselves this year through a lot of hard work. I was looking at the championship table there. It's 16 league wins out of 18 games. Looking here now, scored 61 goals in those 18 games, a goal difference of plus 43. Like, you are by far and away the best team in the championship this year, and you deserve your place in the Premier Division next year. But for those young players looking up to you, like, you've given them something to aspire to, and that's very important for the club as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think, when myself and Austin sat down and we chatted about it at the start of the year, I think one of the biggest things we wanted to get out of the juniors is the style of play, and that style of play then that we try and get that into all age groups, so like the kind of key things I see in the club, and I think Austin and Tim and Martin do a massive job in promoting this, is same style of play from underage to juniors. Everyone's having fun from underage to juniors, and creating that winning mentality. So luckily the juniors probably were the template for that this year, and that's a credit to them. Obviously we'll talk about them again in a minute, but yeah, I hope, obviously, this is, we had loads of young people at the cup final, we had loads of young people at the games during the year. I hope they look up on this and say, yeah, this is what you can achieve in a year, because obviously 4 years we had no junior team, so it just shows you what you can do in a small period of time if everyone buys into our project.
Talk to me, so Johnathan, how you convinced so many players and fellas get involved in this junior team, because like Austin said there, a lot of GA clubs around where your catchment area is, but to get fellas to buy in to Sullane and give their all for a season, because we've seen West Cork League clubs over the years, when the season goes on so long and the GA season starts to kick in, it can get a bit difficult. So what's the secret to your success?
Yeah, no, 100% is definitely one of those things that can be a problem in our area, right? But I think from the start, I was probably worried, but we started late, to be fair. Our pre-season wasn't ideal. So we've been straight into a game against Skibbereen without any training, actually, in the National Cup in their first game. So that was it, and lost that. And I'll talk a bit more about the games we lost in a minute. But like, from the start, there was a group of players that we saw first. There was maybe 7 or 8, but once the GA season closed off, especially in Navalbon, I suppose we started to see the numbers coming up. And to be fair, I have to say, these group of players, they bought into it from the start. They were like, we could have had 30 lads at training some nights, which is phenomenal. You could have put out a second team, but at the same time, there was no moaning, no nothing for people that didn't play. They knew they were part of the game, or the overall squad. They were going to get game time. We managed that, and obviously we're probably lucky that we were able to manage it in games there. We had a few times where we won probably well in some games, and we were able to use our whole bench, which was great because everyone from number 1 to 30 was part of the success. But what I will say, Kieran, is that they're an incredible bunch of players. I don't think I've ever been involved with a team that were so dedicated. We came off lost. If you to go back to the start of the season, we lost our first 3 games. It probably didn't look great when we were down in Beer after losing the third one 3-0, getting hockey down there. But we had a goal at the start of the season. Everyone said, right, let's get back down to business. Let's put what we did wrong, I suppose, in those games right. And as you say, then we won 16 in a row. So it's an incredible performance. But it's these players; they're just incredible. Absolutely the most dedicated team I've probably been involved in. So to be fair, it was a pleasure dealing with them from minute one.
Austin, the importance of Sullane playing in the Premier Division next year, what does that mean to the club?
Absolutely. I mean, look, you're playing with the elite of the West Cork soccer, and I mean, if you sat down with me, Kieran, in the Mizen a few years ago, and you said you think you'll ever see Sullane back in the Premier again, I would have probably laughed at you. I said we'd be lucky to get out in the underage. But like I remember Johnathan coming to me, and like there was a lot of players, I suppose, after COVID, and I think like Johnathan going to touch on that. Like there was always soccer in this locality. There was always boys, and girls now, obviously, interested in playing. And like I think when they saw, okay, the club is kind of turning the tide in underage in like on an under 12 team, like the boys won last year as well. I have to give them their kudos as well. It kind of lifts other people. You suddenly see, okay, look, we always make sure we celebrate our success as well. Like Halloween parties there last year, fundraising, and like we thank the sponsors and everything for helping us in those. But you have people looking over again saying, what are they doing in that camp? What are they doing over in Sullane? What's so special about what they're doing? And and the players are coming to Johnathan, the players are coming to me, and they're saying, lads, how about a junior team? And I suppose at first, like as secretary, I was kind of nervous. I was like, lads, we don't want to go down that road again that we put out a team and by Christmas, if you lose a few games, then you go into the new season and we don't have enough squad depth and lads stop coming to games, and it sets a bad image and a bad precedent. So I think like being in the Premier for us, I couldn't be more prouder of the boys. I suppose my wish and Tim Reardon and the guys is maybe Johnathan and Billy might stay on as managers and keep the show going and challenge now for the Premier title. There's a lot of fantastic teams. Look, Drina look like they're about to clinch the league again. I know some of those players now from seeing them in underage, Owen Hurley and Tom McQueen now, he's playing with his brother Robbie, and those guys are certainly lads to watch out for, and there's some fantastic players in Bunratty as well. So and I suppose the funny thing is, like, while John has a huge squad, going into next year, if hopefully if he's still there, there's a lot of boys, that are 17 and 18 as well that are interested, and that's what you want to see, that the boys coming from underage and girls in time yet too, hopefully they'll be going into that senior setup back here. So look, couldn't be more proud of the boys. I think we'll be up there competing. It'll be difficult. Look, Beara are promoted and we wish them congratulations as well. It's wonderful for the club. And they put in a really hard shift, and look, they were up against Baltimore there in the second half of the season, but they just got through with that win over Clonakilty United. So look, we played Skibbereen, we've lost them in the Beamish Cup, and we lost them, I think, one of our first games in the juniors. So look, maybe we're itching to get an win over them now as well, and look, Beara as well, so we're familiar with them. So you're up against the big boys, and look, I think we've good. We're well able to stand our ground with these guys next season, hopefully.
Johnathan, when you're reflecting on this season, what's a game or moment that stands out for you where you're thinking, okay, this group has got something special?
Oh, good question. I suppose there was a few turning points, I have to say, Kieran. After losing the 2 opening games, the one where we played Udrina at home and Clan at home next, and we won 8-3 and 5-3. Like, we were a bit unlucky at the start of the season where we got a lot of injuries in our back four. Like, you call out the stats a while ago, we conceded 18 goals in the league. We conceded 13 in the first 4 games. So we had to get that ship sorted again. So I think those ones were big ones to get the wins, get the points on the board, and allow time for our defenders to get back. Then after that, I suppose the standout ones was just the turn after Christmas. You know, we beat Beara 5-0 at home. Went down to Drina, very tough game. 0-0 at halftime, came out after the second half and scored straight away and won that 3-1. And then obviously the big one, it all came down to, I suppose, the Baltimore 2 games were pushed out for obviously no one's fault. Obviously, only just things didn't line up in terms of early in the season. But that was the big one down in Skibbereen, where we played Baltimore. So that was tense, but we got out of there 2-0, and fantastic performance down there by both teams. To be fair, it was one that was fitting probably for more the end of the season as opposed to maybe 4 or 5 games out. Like, but they're probably the key games that stood out to me. I think once we got over Baltimore down in Skibbereen, though, I think we knew it was in our hands then, and we just had to finish the job. So I suppose that was probably the key game. But there was a few points during the season where you just kind of felt you lose those games and you go one direction, you win them, and suddenly you're in a title race.
What does the club mean to both of you? I come to you first, Austin. Like you said, you're back involved in it now. You've given an awful lot, to Sullane. Like, why is the club so important to you?
Probably I suppose personally, like I played with Sullane. I suppose I was probably on one of the first ever underage teams with my friends back in 1994. I remember going out to Crossbarry playing some game. Johnathan, you might have been in the bus too, and I think we were hockey 10-0. I think the old Knockavilla game or something. But I remember the whole way back in the bus, it was just always felt like we just, all we cared about was we nearly scored that day, but we didn't. And I suppose when I always compared it, and I adore Gaelic football and all the Gaelic sports, I always found with the soccer, I just had more fun. Maybe for me personally, that was my opinion of it. I always felt it was just it was our thing where we go away as a little group and you wouldn't have half the pressure maybe. And look, that's not saying, look, I know I have a lot of fun Gaelic football too and winning, matches and mid-corks and things like that. You certainly, you have your days out as well. But look, I'm a pro Liverpool man, I suppose, and I always loved the game. And I think, look, one of my best friends, God rest him, A. Cronin, he was working with the FAI and he died he died on back in 2014, unfortunately. And I think, like, my 2 of his best friends, one would be Johnathan Hoare. He'd be chairman of Neva Bawn Gaelic Football Club. And I suppose, look, I'd consider one of my best friends too. And I think he'd be very proud that he was a Manchester United man, he was a Sullane man, he was a Neva Bawn man, he was an FAI man, he loved Munster rugby and very proud sportsman. And I think, look, there's a part of me doing that in tribute to him as well, to say, look, we're moving the right way here as well in the club. And look, that's just me. I could go on all day about, I suppose, look, helping the kids and all that, volunteering. It's great fun too, and seeing the smiles and coming up to you constantly during the day. Like, I can't get down to the shop without some kids saying to me, Austin, when's the next match? Austin, what's going on? Are we getting an away kit? And you're like, geez, we just after getting a brand new home kit and sponsor. But it's all those things, I mean, it's a real community effort here, and we, that's how I feel.
The same question to you, Johnathan, because I saw that picture from 30 years ago when you were the mascot back when the club won. There was at the championship or Division 3 back 30 years ago, and I think your father was coach of that team. So, like, the club obviously has a special part in your family and your own sporting story.
Yeah, 100%. Look, it was something I wasn't aware of actually when I sat down with Austin in terms of the 30-year piece. Okay, but obviously that was a lovely piece after winning the league and very nice from the point of view of my family, and to have that, it was lovely. But in terms of the club, yeah, you called it out there. To be fair, I've been there since I was a boy. I probably wasn't blessed with talent on the pitch, I have to say. Okay, I was probably better in indoor or something like that, but. Similar to Austin, I obviously loved soccer. I played football, I played everything. But when you were out kicking a ball around in the grass at home, it was soccer I always played. So I was always stuck in it. And Sullane was part of me from an early age. Predominantly dad and my father, obviously, or sorry, my father and my brother, I should say, who were part of that team in 1991 and 92 and 93 when they won it. But I suppose, yeah, like what's it mean to me now? Look, I love the club. You know, I'm delighted to see the successes there across all age groups, not just the junior group. But I suppose just diverting for a minute, if you don't mind, Kieran, I'd like to just say, I suppose there's probably two areas of Sullane, you know, and the year at the moment is obviously Austin, Tim Reardon, and Martin Twomey and the committee. And I just want to say thanks a million to them in terms of what they've done for the club over the last few years. You know, making it for the likes of me such an easy job. I just had to go out and train players. You know what I mean? Pitches were lined, flags were out, all the small things that the players and me probably don't see, they're taking care of, and that's huge. And you know what they've done for this club is phenomenal. But I suppose another one I'd like to call out as well, it was very special at the cup final, and I didn't actually get a chance properly to sit down with him yet, I suppose, is we had Liam Griffin there, who was the original chairman back in the day, and who set up the club in 91. And as I said, I haven't chatted to him yet, but I hope Liam and Orla and the gang got a chance to sit down over the last few days and say, you know what, all that hard work, it was worth it, you know, and it's days like that they should enjoy as well, because they set this club up at the start, washed jerseys, lined pitches in horrible days, and you know, great credit needs to go to them as well. But yeah, the club means a huge amount to me. I hope it keeps going now. It's got momentum. So, you know, winning breeds success. And we need to keep that going in the club now, okay? And then I suppose the other thing I'd say as well at the end is what makes me proud as well is, you know, look, I suppose this was probably a soccer thing historically going back the years. You know, GA was always probably viewed as the #1 sport, you know, and soccer probably maybe 2 or 3, depending on where rugby was or what community we're in. But what was great to see across Sullane is how we're bringing a professionalism to it. You know what I mean? We're getting down to games at the right time. We're getting the warm-ups done right. We're making sure the players are ready when they go out there. The training's been done properly. There's a style of play that we're following, and that's huge, you know, and that's half the battle. And if you get that right in the club, I think people will start to say, look, come here, these guys mean business, okay, and we want to be part of that journey, you know.
I'm going to finish off. I'm looking for a Star Sport exclusive. Johnathan, will you be in the manager's hot seat for next season? So I'm just taking the lead from Austin's question. For people listening to the podcast, Austin has his hands clasped together. He's praying for so, pressure, Johnathan, but we're looking for this.
I'm lucky. I think the Wi-Fi is not great. Maybe I'm dialing out here. Am I? You can't hear me anymore now. I know. What's the answer to the question? I suppose. Look, I probably took it on as a 1-season thing. I think I said that to Austin, to be fair. So of course I'm torn. I'm obviously busy. I've my own business. I've a wife that's due her 4th child, or we're due our 4th child. So it's going to be a busy house in the next couple of months. So, but at the same time, going back to my love of the club, I love it, of course. And of course, we've done a massive job for the junior team. So yeah, of course, you'd be torn either way. But I suppose the next thing, if I'm being honest, Kieran, you know, we've chatted already. We need to enjoy the success for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and the players need to enjoy that and do the medal presentations and all that, and have one good night, because you know you have to live with losses long enough. You might as well enjoy successes for a few weeks. And then I think we need to go into a process, and we need to look at what we did right this year, what we did wrong this year. You know, Austin touched on it earlier. We lost 2 games to the only Premier Division team we've played this year. We lost twice and we didn't score a goal. So we need to evaluate what we need to do better, because look, ultimately, whether I'm in charge or whoever's in charge, if we're going up to the Premier, we need to come up with a plan to make a difference here and to win it. Ultimately, that has to be it. So I think part of that process needs to be analysed, the management team, and to see, you know, what we did right and what we did wrong, and you know, whether we stay on is the right thing to do, or whether, you know, a change of direction and now take this another level is the right thing to do. I think that will fall out of that process too. So talk about sitting on the fence now, but right now I think we need to sit back and probably look at it for what's the best thing for the club going forward, as opposed to what's the best thing for me.
A very good answer. And I want to just congratulate you both, Austin and Johnathan, on terrific success, not just for the junior men's team, but obviously for the underage success as well. Austin with that Sullane under-12 girls team went all the way to a National Cup quarter-final, which was one of the stories of the West Cork Schoolboys and Schoolgirls League this year. Terrific success. So no doubt you will be in the headlines for the seasons to come. So congratulations again, and thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, Kieran.
And just one last thing, Kieran, actually, if you don't mind, just obviously just from our point of view too, we'd like to thank the Southern Star and yourself for all the coverage over the years. You know, it's great to get the club out there. I know it's great when you're winning, but we're delighted that you covered us so much during the year. So big thanks to you and to John McCarthy as well.
I'm sure as well. Definitely for the underage and all the nice write-ups. I know that the boys and girls are reading all of those every week. So thank you so much.